playing this game that you mean girls play.
Yes.
Where like, oh, you know what? You can't sit at my lunch table because I'm just not talking to you. And you also have to respect that, you know, the guy did win. It's more than half the country or whatever. I mean, you know, I keep saying it. I'm not going to hate. You cannot like.
At the end of Trump's first term, there were still some people who would occasionally correct him on little details, like you lost that last election. But now we have Lauren Boebert saying we must rally behind President Trump to secure his third term, something Steve Bannon is advocating for as well. And you just know that soon the entire Republican Party will be on this page. Okay, there's no fuzz on this. It's
What do you get when you mix Bill Maher's savage sarcasm with Trump's fragile ego just minutes before a so-called important meeting? A political roast session so spicy it should come with a warning label. Maher didn't just throw shade, he created an entire eclipse over Trump's credibility. And let's just say the timing couldn't have been more perfect. Buckle up because this takedown hit harder than Trump's attempt to spell unprecedented without autocorrect. And yes, the meeting still flopped. Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe.
Let me ask you this, last question. You're going to meet with the president.
I am?
So Kid Rock makes it happen. What do you think has been the response so far? What do you think it will be, and why are you doing it? Which I'm totally for, by the way, and I love it.
I get it. Well, I'm doing it because, first of all, it was presented as
a dare.
Well, he's, you know what? He realizes that he's winning. I think that's bothering you, Bill.
Well, it is bothering me because, again, he's an insurrectionist who doesn't believe in democracy, so of course it's bothering me. And of course he's also insane and a criminal and stupid.
Except for that,
but,
Bill.
But I gotta say,
I'll vote for him.
Like, what works for him, like when that clip you just showed, I mean, look, he's almost the same age as Biden, but Biden presents as old.
Yeah.
Ancient.
Yeah.
That does not look old.
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't.
He does not present as old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like Kiss.
Because you definitely don't want to miss this one. Bill Maher, the man who's made a career out of ripping Donald Trump apart like he's the punchline of a bad joke, has decided to do the unthinkable. He's agreed to have dinner with him. Yes, you heard that right. Bill Maher, who has roasted Trump like a Thanksgiving turkey on live TV, now has a dinner date with the man himself. While I'm sure Trump was thrilled to hear about this, you can practically hear the collective confusion echoing across the political landscape. It's almost like watching a cat willingly walk into a room full of dogs, both baffling and hilarious. Now, you might be wondering, wait, what happened to the Bill Maher who spent years mocking Trump?
no, just like, maybe this is a beginning to heal America. No, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if two guys who've been at each other for so long, I mean, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credentials. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily. That is going to be one of my favorite days of 2024.
The Trump assassination attempt.
It would be different if he got killed. He didn't. There's no tragedy happened. Well, for one guy. And that I said that on stage that night also, that a guy shoots at Trump, the guy behind him gets shot and killed. That's so Trump. It's just it's so on brand to have the other guy, you know, he never goes to jail. He never, you know, loses money in bankruptcy. It's always somebody else holding the bullet.
Every single thing he does. Oh, don't worry, that Bill Maher is still alive and well. But here's the plot twist. Bill Maher, the man who has called Trump out so many times it's basically become a national sport, is now sitting across from him at a dinner table, probably wondering if he's about to get a second helping of Trump's nonsense alongside the appetizers. I mean, this is the same guy who turned political commentary into a comedy roast, with Trump as the main course, served with a side of satire and sprinkled with irony. And now, somehow, he's going to sit down for dinner with the guy. Oh, the irony is just too rich. Let's take a step back and think about this for a second. Bill Maher is
from Rivervale, New Jersey, just a humble kid from the suburbs, was invited for a private dinner to the White House, you glide right past that to how dare you talk to him, and that you're not impressed by it at all. I'm impressed by it.
No stranger to making his disdain for Donald Trump as obvious as the orange hue of the former president's skin. He's dedicated entire segments on Real Time to picking apart Trump's disastrous presidency, pointing out his complete lack of understanding of basic political structures, international relations, and, let's be real, basic human decency. I mean, Maher is one of the few public figures who doesn't sugarcoat his feelings about Trump. When you've got someone like Maher, who's so blunt you could use his words to hammer nails into a wall, agreeing to dinner with Trump, you know it's going to be a circus. You'd think Bill Maher would be the last person to voluntarily break bread with Trump. After all,
to make Trump's birthday a holiday and put him on currency and Mount Rushmore. This is not what we do here, guys. He's still in office, for God's sake. Can we see how it turns out before we put him on a stamp? Now, whenever a political party finds a real star president, the other side always says, well, we have to find our Bill Clinton, our Reagan, our Obama. Well, the Democrats need to find their Trump. Not the authoritarian part, but the part where a politician bonds with everyday
Maher
Americans.
has called him a man-baby on multiple occasions and ripped apart Trump's Twitter habits like a stand-up comedian tearing into a heckler at the worst possible time. He's pointed out how Trump's policies are as incoherent as a drunk person trying to read Shakespeare. And let's not forget how Maher made the masterful observation that Trump's entire presidency felt like a bad reality show where the villains somehow won. And yet, here we are, watching Bill Maher sit down to dinner with this political nightmare. What's going through Maher's mind, you ask? Does he think that after spending years mocking Trump, a quiet dinner will somehow open the door for a heart-to-heart? Does he expect Trump to suddenly become reasonable over the soup course? Spoiler alert, Trump is not going to change over a glass of wine and a few courses of overpriced entrees. But here's where things get interesting. Bill Maher's entire career has been about dissecting people like Trump. He's made a living, calling out hypocrisy, greed, and absurdity in the highest echelons of politics. He's the guy who points out when people are full of it, especially when it comes to power-hungry individuals who are all talk and no substance. But this dinner, it's like Maher stepping into the lion's den willingly, armed only with his quick wit and a stack of real-time insults he's probably keeping on his phone. I mean, think about the comedy potential here. Bill Maher, the master of sarcasm and brutal honesty, sitting across from a man whose ego is so fragile it could shatter at the slightest critique. You just know Maher's going.
All right, so this could be your future. You, as somebody who is not necessarily in the Donald Trump fan club, I don't see you in the red hat. You too, if you know Kid Rock at all, or even I think I could do it, could get invited to the White House to sit down with Donald Trump. He brought Bill Maher. He was on Bill Maher's show. He convinced Bill Maher to go to the White House to the satisfaction of no one. No one wanted to see this. It's kind of like when Mika and Joe went to Mar-a-Lago. And Bill did it, even though he really doesn't like
to drop a bombshell or two. It's not like he's going to sit there and let Trump spew nonsense without calling him out on every ridiculous thing that comes out of his mouth. You can already hear the zingers lined up. So, Donald, how's the weather on your private golf course today? Or, I've been meaning to ask, how do you manage to make every scandal feel like the season finale of a bad drama? Bill Maher sitting down with Donald Trump after years of roasting and criticizing him is both surprising and fascinating. On the surface, it seems like a bizarre decision. After all, Maher has built a career calling out Trump for everything from his business failures to his handling of the country. So why would someone who has so publicly eviscerated Trump agree to have dinner with him?
The shocking thing to me was, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill? And I was like, how about this? President Trump, extending this olive branch, and we talked about things we had in common, ending wokeness,
The first reason, the challenge. Bill Maher is a master of political commentary and satire, and the opportunity to face Trump directly after years of taking Jabs from a distance likely appeals to Maher's intellectual curiosity and competitive spirit. Trump is a walking target of contradictions, hypocrisy, and absurdity, and Maher is always looking for new ways to point that out. Sitting across from Trump at dinner could be a chance to put those skills to the ultimate test, seeing if he can break down Trump's defenses in real time, make him squirm, and maybe expose him in ways that go beyond what can be done from the comfort of a TV studio. Second, there's the entertainment value. Maher is a comedian first and foremost, and this dinner with Trump is like the ultimate roast material. The conversation, no matter how uncomfortable, would be a goldmine for Maher's material. Imagine the things Trump could say that Maher could roast, dissect, and turn into an hour-long segment. He doesn't shy away from controversy. He thrives on it. This dinner is likely a calculated move to get under Trump's skin, to publicly address the contradictions Trump has built his career on, and to force him to react in a way that will only further expose his flaws. By agreeing to sit down with Trump, Maher can hold him accountable directly, making it clear that this isn't just a publicity stunt. It's about facing Trump head-on and pushing back against the toxic rhetoric he's peddled for years. In short, Bill Maher sitting down with Donald Trump is a strategic move to blend bold political commentary, personal challenge, and good old-fashioned entertainment. Because at the end of the day, Maher knows that if anyone can make Trump squirm in public, it's him. Now, here's where it gets even juicier. Trump, for all his bluster, isn't the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to handling someone who actually knows how to think. He spent his entire life surrounded by sycophants.
You know, the president was asking him what he thought about policy, you know, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just meant, it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, you know, very, very proud.
Amazing. And by the way, it was also added that Maher showed up with a list of terrible things that Trump had said about Maher. And he showed it, I guess, to President Trump, who signed it and gave it back to him.
Who only tell him what he wants to hear. You know Maher is going to walk into that room with his sharpest knives. And we're not talking about the dinner silverware. He's going to carve through Trump's self-aggrandizing nonsense like a chef preparing a gourmet meal. And don't think Trump's going to take it lying down. Oh no. The man whose entire life has been built on defending his own ego is definitely going to have a reaction. And folks, we're all here for it. But let's step back and look at this from a different angle. Why would Bill Maher, the guy who's laid into Trump like a pro wrestler going for the finishing move, agree to sit down and have dinner with him? Does Maher think he's going to change Trump's mind? Does he hope that over appetizers, he'll be able to convince Trump to stop being a walking political disaster? Nah, that's not the point. Maher isn't trying to fix Trump. If anything,
country, and I'm starting the end of the month taking Bill Maher to the White House for dinner. This guy's done nothing but talk smack about the president since day one. But he's a comedian too.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can have conversations with him, you know, if you don't get into Trump, because I'm like, I freaking love him.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't. I'm like, let's talk about other things. We can find common ground. He's actually, you know, more reasonable.
Probably going into this dinner thinking, let's see just how much I can make this guy squirm. And knowing Bill Maher, he's probably already planned out every possible angle to needle Trump, because if there's one thing Maher does better than roast anyone, it's making people uncomfortable. Think about it. You have someone who's practically renowned for calling out bad behavior, hypocrisy, and sheer absurdity, sitting across from the king of bad behavior, hypocrisy, and absurdity. This is a man who's made an art form out of calling out every ridiculous thing Trump has said, from his fantastic businesses to his amazing foreign policies. Bill Maher's not going to sit there and let Trump ramble on about how amazing he is or how great the country was when he was in charge. Maher's going to dig into him. He's going to ask the questions that make Trump squirm in his seat, and he's not going to stop until Trump realizes the entire dinner is just another opportunity for Maher to expose him for the nonsense that he is.
This is a guy who Bill Maher hates Trump, and Trump was nice to him, sort of showing like this is Trump also feeding